Imagine waking up, grabbing your phone, opening your banking app, and seeing a message you were never supposed to see. Withdrawals temporarily disabled. Please try again later. No explanation. No warning. Just 3 chilling words that suddenly rewrite your entire sense of security. Access denied. Now imagine this doesn't last a few minutes or even a few hours. Imagine it lasts 72 hours. 3 full days where your money exists only on a screen, untouchable, frozen, and slipping out of your control. Later in this video, you'll understand why that tiny time window can trigger nationwide panic and why governments secretly prepare for this exact scenario. Most people assume their money is safe because it's in a bank. But banks operate on a knife's edge of trust, and that trust can evaporate instantly. Today, we're going to explore a terrifying question with real-world consequences for your savings, your job, and even your ability to function in society. What actually happens if your bank freezes withdrawals for just 72 hours? Because this isn't science fiction. This happened before. And everything about our modern system makes it more likely to happen again. By the time we're done, you'll see why this single event, just 3 days long, can break economies, reshape governments, and permanently alter citizens' behavior. But here's where it gets strange. Most people imagine a bank freeze as an inconvenience, a temporary glitch, something like, "Guess I can't get cash today." But the moment the freeze is official, the freeze becomes psychological. And psychology moves faster than money, faster than markets, and faster than government response. Before you know it, the freeze jumps from one bank to all banks, from private panic to national crisis. And you, yes, you personally, become part of a chain reaction that nobody can stop once it begins. This video is not fear-mongering. It's a reality check. Banks only hold a fraction of the money their customers think they have. Digital payments dominate. Cash availability is shrinking. And a single disruption can turn daily life upside down. Closing stores, stopping salaries, freezing rent payments, and leaving millions of people unable to pay for food or medicine. Keep watching, because by the end you'll know the 4 stages of a withdrawal freeze, how each one affects you, and the hidden mechanisms happening behind the scenes as governments scramble to keep the system from collapsing. So let's begin with something almost nobody understands: what a freeze actually means. You might imagine a brute force lock, some dramatic shutdown. In reality, a freeze can start with something as mundane as maintenance, a vague notice on the app, a suspiciously long update. Maybe the ATM just says, "temporarily out of service." Most people ignore it. But then, after an hour, social media fills with screenshots. People start calling customer service, and the wait time climbs from minutes to hours. That's when rumor becomes reality. You don't need an official announcement. When people can't access their money, the system enters its first stage. Denial. Not denial by the public, but denial by the institution. Because no bank wants to be the one to say, "We have a liquidity problem." Those words can kill a bank faster than any crisis. But here's what nobody tells you. Banks prepare for this exact moment. They have scripts. They have PR statements. They have protocols designed to calm you without revealing the full picture. They use phrases like temporary service disruption or security review or technical outage, even when the truth is that withdrawals must stop because too many people are requesting cash at once. It's the digital equivalent of a dam cracking. The first breach is tiny, but once the water starts flowing, stopping it becomes impossible. Now imagine you're one of the early people who notices. You try to transfer money to another bank. It says pending. You try again. Still pending. Your stress rises. You start asking yourself, is my money actually there? That question is the turning point. Because once enough people share your fear, the system transitions to the second stage. Realization. This is the moment the public understands something is wrong, even if they don't know what. And this is when 3 days starts to feel like 3 months. Think about your immediate needs: food, gas, rent, childcare, emergencies. Without access to cash, your life compresses. Every decision becomes survival-oriented. And this isn't just you. This is millions of people making the same calculation at the same time. When that happens, stores feel it instantly. Credit card processors slow down. Cash registers run empty. Suppliers demand payment. Retailers hesitate to restock. The freeze spreads beyond banks into everyday life. Your inability to withdraw becomes someone else's inability to sell or deliver. But here's the dangerous part. The third stage isn't individual panic. It's collective action. The moment your bank acknowledges the freeze, even if it's framed positively, the public interprets it as confirmation of the worst-case scenario. People flood branches. ATM lines stretch around buildings. Some customers demand answers. Others demand cash on the spot. Bank employees panic because they're not trained for this level of chaos. The institution becomes a pressure cooker, every person inside a piece of tinder feeding a growing fire. In this environment, rumors spread faster than facts. Someone on social media claims the freeze will last longer than 72 hours. Someone else claims the government is taking over the bank. Another says the bank is insolvent. Suddenly, a 3-day freeze becomes the seed of something far bigger, a systemic crisis. And the public doesn't just lose trust in one bank, they lose trust in all of them. Now imagine the government's perspective in this moment. Their job is to maintain confidence. Not money, confidence. Money is just numbers. Confidence is the belief that those numbers matter. So when withdrawals freeze, governments activate emergency protocols behind closed doors. They consider injecting liquidity. They discuss temporarily guaranteeing deposits. They coordinate with central banks. They monitor social media in real time. They analyze crowd patterns outside bank branches. But here's what nobody tells you. Governments fear one thing above all else: a bank run that spreads across multiple institutions. Because that's when things slip out of their control. One bank freezing withdrawals is bad. 2 banks freezing is a crisis. 3 banks freezing in the same week can destabilize an entire economy. Every additional institution increases pressure, like dominoes tilting in slow motion. This is where our story takes a more personal turn. Because when you experience a freeze, you start questioning entire assumptions you built your life on. You start thinking, if the bank can freeze my money for 72 hours, what's stopping them from doing it for a week? A month? What if they decide to examine my transactions? What if they hold my funds without explanation? These thoughts begin to reshape your relationship with the financial system. And once millions of people feel the same loss of trust, society changes in ways that ripple for years. Let's zoom out and explore a real scenario. Picture a major bank in a large metropolitan area. Not a small, struggling institution, but a well-known, well-advertised bank with millions of customers. One morning, they notice withdrawals surging. Maybe it's because of a rumor. Maybe a large fund moved money out overnight. Maybe there was a market shock. Whatever the reason, too many customers want cash at the same time. The bank's liquidity drops below safe operating levels. They need time, just time, to raise capital, borrow reserve funds, or transfer assets. Their only option? A temporary freeze. Here's where it gets worse. The bank notifies regulators. The regulators notify the central bank. The central bank advises silence. Nobody wants to cause panic. But customers aren't stupid. They see the signs. They feel tension in every delayed transaction. They sense that something is wrong. This is the dangerous psychological tipping point where fear becomes self-fulfilling. People panic not because they're irrational, but because they're rational under the assumption that others will panic. Now let's go deeper. What happens to the economy during these 72 hours? Salaries scheduled for direct deposit may not clear. Businesses expecting incoming payments suddenly stall. Contractors don't get paid. Rents bounce. Loan payments fail. Automatic withdrawals stop. In the background, credit scores get hit, bills go unpaid, and late fees accumulate. All because the system froze. And none of it is your fault. But here's the twist that shocks most people. Even after withdrawals resume, the damage isn't over. Trust has been broken. People begin withdrawing more cash than usual. They leave it at home. They diversify into multiple banks. They buy safes. They reduce dependence on digital systems. Small, individual choices turn into collective behavioral shifts that reshape banking forever. Consider this: after a single 72-hour freeze, the bank might open again, yet deposits never fully return. Some customers withdraw everything. Others move half. Others simply stop using the bank altogether. The institution recovers on paper but is permanently weakened. And in the financial world, weakness invites predators, competitors, short sellers, opportunistic investors. The freeze marks the beginning of a slow decline. This is what nobody tells you. A 72-hour freeze doesn't end when the clock runs out. It ends months later, when the last aftershock finally fades. And by then, something in you has changed too. You begin to understand the fragility of a system you once believed was unshakable. But we're not done yet. The next part of the story takes us into the climax. The moment everything snaps into focus and the true risk of a 72-hour freeze becomes impossible to ignore. Imagine it's day 3. Social tension is rising. Social media is flooded with videos of angry customers at bank lobbies. Some branches quietly limit the amount of cash per customer. Others allow withdrawals but move slower than usual. People start speculating. Maybe the bank was hacked. Maybe they ran out of money. Maybe something is being covered up. The narrative spirals. Conspiracy theories multiply. Influencers exaggerate. Mainstream media tries to calm the public, which only fuels suspicion. In this atmosphere, even a small inconsistency becomes suspicious. Every official statement is questioned. Every denial is seen as confirmation of something worse. Then, just as announced, the freeze ends at the 72-hour mark. Withdrawals resume. But what happens next is the true climax. Everyone withdraws at once. People who weren't worried before now feel obligated to just be safe. This collective action threatens to create the very crisis the freeze was meant to prevent. Banks respond by quietly imposing withdrawal limits, which only worsens panic. You can see the perfect storm forming in real time. At this point, you must ask, what does this mean for you? What happens to your savings, your job, your plans for the future? The answer is simple but unsettling. A 72-hour freeze forces you to confront a truth most people prefer not to think about. Your money isn't really yours until you can access it. It exists in a digital ecosystem dependent on trust. If that trust breaks, the numbers in your account lose meaning. But here's the insight that ties everything together. A withdrawal freeze is not about money. It's about power, control, perception, confidence. Those who understand the system prepare, not because they're paranoid, but because they're realistic. Those who don't understand it become vulnerable when the freeze comes. As we end this story, remember this: the stability of your financial life is built on invisible foundations. Most days, those foundations feel solid. But under stress, real stress, they reveal cracks. The best way to navigate a world where a 72-hour freeze is possible is simple. Stay aware, stay adaptable, and never rely on a single point of failure. Systems fail. People panic. But those who prepare stay calm while others scramble. If this opened your eyes, stay with us. This story isn't over yet. And if you want more deep dive explainers like this, make sure you subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment about what scenario we should break down next. Your future deserves clarity, and we're here to help you see the truth beneath the surface.